welcome everybody to webinar number 7 of the New Vehicle Efficiency Standard, or NVES Regulator. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We do have a few more people popping in, but I'm going to kick off. For those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting before, my name is Karen Najjar. I am the NVES Regulator, and I'd like to start today's webinar by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm calling this meeting, which is the Ngunnawal people for those of us here in Canberra, and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and really acknowledge their connection and care for this country that has existed for thousands of years before we arrived here. I'd like to extend that respect to the First Nations people of other countries from where you are joining us. So thanks again for making the time. This is our final webinar of 2025, and it's coming at a pretty exciting time. So I think I'll just, before I get into the detail of what the team will take you through today, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. So for those of you who've been here before, you'll know that we've got a couple of different ways that you can ask questions. And so there's a couple of notes here. We are recording this webinar, as we have all of our others, and it will be made available, published on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, sometime in the not too distant future post this event. If you could please make sure that you can pop your microphone on mute unless you've actually been called on to ask a question, and that just helps to keep everything neat and tidy. If you would like to ask questions, and we really do strongly encourage you to ask questions throughout today, a couple of ways you can do it. You can see up there on screen now, you can actually pop questions into our Q&A bar. So if you have the meeting chat function at the top of the screen, if you go to the chat, I beg your pardon, the Q&A. If you go to the Q&A function, you'll see that you've got, you can pop in questions at any point in time that you like. You also have that choice with the Q&A that if you would rather not have your name, so you post as anonymous, in other words, not have your name associated with it, you're welcome to do so. There is that little box to tick. If you don't tick that box, of course, the name that you're logged into this webinar will come up against your question, and that might help us if we've got any follow-up, or just to make sure that we've actually answered the question that you've asked. Like our last webinar, you can also please raise your hand, so that's through using the raise function that you'll see at the top of the Teams bar, and I will call on you throughout the session. What we'll try and do is let each of the speakers get through their sort of chunk of information. Then if there's any questions that are in the space that are particular to that session, I might ask them, but we have quite a lot of time at the end of all of the presentations for Q&A. So don't fear if we don't call on you, or you don't think of your question at the time, or you're still busy typing it out or thinking about how you'd like to ask it before the next person started. Keep going. We will circle back and get through as many of those questions as we can before the end of the hour we have together today. We will also, as we often do, ask you to just spend 30 seconds at the end of this session, if possible, to answer a quick survey for us about how you found the information, the session, how it was run, etc. Anything we can improve, or anything that you'd like to see continued. That's certainly how we've come to things like this ability to do the anonymous questioning. Has been through feedback from previous webinars, so please keep telling us what's working for you and what you'd like to see. The other thing that I should mention about this Q&A is that if you've seen someone else ask the question that you think, yep, that's the one I'm most interested in, you can actually vote them up. So you give a little thumbs up to the question rather than having to ask the question again at a different time. And we will try and make sure that if there's a question that has 6 or 7 thumbs up, that we answer that as a priority, because we know that more than one of you are really interested in that answer. So a few different ways that you can express your interest, but we will do our very best to get through all of the questions ideally, but if not, as many as we possibly can to this session. So on that note, let's get into the fun stuff. I just thought I'd give a really quick minute or two to talk about where have we been across 2025. So some of you will know, and for others it might be news, we exist as the NVES Regulator, and we actually formally stood up under our legislation on the 1st of January this year. So we're getting close to the end of 12 months existing as the NVES Regulator. That was really exciting for us here in the department. For you in the regulated entity world, the really key interesting time came on the 1st of July this year, which was when you started having an obligation. So when you were entering vehicles into the RAV, if those vehicles were the types that are captured by NVES, you were required to start reporting your NVES data. And I'm really happy to say that you did. That was happening and has been happening since the 1st of July in a really smooth way. So we thank you for that. The next big thing that happened in our world was that we released the NVES portal for our regulated entities, and that happened in September this year. So this is for some of you who might be joining us, and I should have said there are a range of different people signed up for this webinar. So most of what we're talking about today is really targeted information, trying to make sure that our regulated entities, those of you who are working for companies who have obligations, know what you need to do and how you need to get through this end of the first performance period and into the start of next year. Others here might also be interested. There might be people from just interested organisations, from media, from others. You're welcome still, of course, to ask questions. There will be some content that won't be familiar to you or that you won't be able to access, and the portal is one of those things. The portal is not available to anyone who is not working for a regulated entity under the NVES. So we've got that portal that's gone live, so our entities are now able to see things like what data they've been reporting and have a view about their current emissions performance. So where are we today? Today being the 27th of November, we are thick and fast in the deep parts of you guys doing your data reconciliation. That's obviously been happening right since the 1st of July, but we know that people are really starting to turn their minds to it, and so Hallie will talk a little bit more about that shortly. I will say we want that to happen. That's happening, really good signs. All in the greater good, because we are fast barreling towards the 31st of December this year. And the 31st of December is the very last day of our first performance period. So for the NVES Act, our first performance period is actually 1st of July 2025 to 31st of December 2025. So a shorter year than usual. So that's the context of today. We're barreling towards the end of that first performance period, and we want to make sure everyone knows what they need to do, how they need to go about doing it, having access to all the right systems, and if there's any questions about how they go about any of those steps, we really welcome you joining us, asking those questions any one of those ways, putting the hand up, the Q&A, upvoting someone else's information. And of course, I should mention that if for any reason that you're not comfortable or to prefer not to ask your question today, if you're a regulated entity, of course you have your account managers who are always your first port of call and always look forward to speaking with you. So you shouldn't hesitate to contact your account managers if you have a very specific question you'd rather not ask in this public arena. So, team, have I missed anything? No? Great. Okay, so with no further ado, I'll let you get on to the interesting and exciting information of the day. And I'm going to start by handing off to Hallie, who's one of our account managers, so some of you will recognise her. And she's going to talk to you about that really critical step that we're doing right now about preparing and submitting your data corrections. Thanks, Hallie.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. I know quite a few of you. I can't see your faces, but I am very happy to see you again, and I hope you guys have been doing well since the last time we spoke. I saw some of you at our September workshop in Melbourne, so it's really nice to have a chance to talk to you guys again. Vinny, would you mind changing the slide for me, please? Thank you. All right, so we've been talking to you guys about the end-of-year corrections for a while now. And I'm sure that all of you have an appreciation, without my having to tell you, for how important it is that the data on the RAV is correct and accurate, so that your IEV is similarly correct and accurate. As Karen mentioned, we're coming right up to the end of the 2025 performance period. The last day is the 31st of December. And as a reminder, the 2025 performance period, and I know that Karen just said this, but I'm going to say it again, the 2025 performance period includes all the vehicles your entity has submitted to the RAV in between when NVES went live at midnight on the 1st of July this year and 11:59 on the last day of this year, the 31st of December. I know that many of you have been doing your end-of-year reconciliations because you've been talking to us about it, and that's fabulous. We love to see it. If you have found errors in your RAV data, or you do find errors in the next couple of weeks, please submit those correction requests promptly, before the 15th of December if you possibly can. The earlier you submit your correction requests, the less complicated your IEV calculation is, and the less likely it's going to be that your IEV is delayed. Now, I know actually that we're asking you ideally for corrections before the 15th of December, even though I also just said you're going to be submitting data to the RAV up until the 31st. And that must seem a little bit impractical if you need to correct the data you submitted to the RAV on, say, the 28th. But I want to reassure you that we're still going to be taking corrections to NVES data in January. So if you do have to make that correction, please do exactly what you would normally do. But we do expect that in doing these end-of-year reconciliations, that you're identifying errors that may have been made in the rest of your 2025 data, and that you're submitting those corrections ideally before the 15th. That gives us enough time to action those, and again, make it simple and make it straightforward. If you have any questions or concerns about this, please contact your account manager. You know who they are, and you know how to get a hold of them, because we're right here to help you. We do have some tools on the NVES portal to help you with reconciliations if you need that extra little bit of support, and Aldrich's going to be taking you through those shortly. Benny, would you mind changing the slide again for me? Thank you so much. I thought it would be helpful to go over how corrections work for NVES data. Some of you have the benefit of having heard me talk about this in Melbourne, but for those of you who haven't, it's a little bit different from a regular RAV correction. What doesn't change is how you submit that correction. That's exactly the same as it always has been. When you identify that a correction has to be made, you submit that correction request through Rover. The other thing that doesn't change is that your correction request will go to the RAV questions team. Perfectly normal. But it's just a little bit different after that. Once the RAV questions team receives that correction relating to NVES data, they send it to us. As a reminder, the NVES data fields are vehicle type, so type 1, type 2 are exempt, mass and running order, or MIRO, rated towing capacity, and CO2 emissions. From there, from when we get it, it's our team who's going to be assessing your correction request. If your request relates to other fields as well, like seating capacity or GVM or engine power, the RAV questions team will still handle those fields. We only do NVES, but we do them separately. Now, when we get the correction request, we're going to contact you for more information, because in order to do our assessment, we need to know which values you want to change and what you want to change them to. So we'll ask you for a breakdown of that VIN by VIN. We might also ask you for supporting documentation, like extracts from testing certificates. And after we receive that information from you, we'll assess the request and we'll give our recommendation to the RAV questions team. And then it's back to normal. The RAV questions team will let you know when the record has been unlocked, and then you can submit your correction file. Now, before I hand over to Aldrich, who's going to be taking you through how the NVES portal can help you complete your reconciliations, are there any questions? Can I answer anything on any of the corrections stuff that I have just spoken about?
Hallie, I think we're just waiting on one that's coming through the Q&A. It shouldn't be
Sure.
too long. So
That's
we might
fine.
just move on, and then we'll pop back to it at the end of Aldrich's piece.
I will be right back after Aldrich speaks. So yeah, I'll take it then.
Perfect. Thanks, Hallie.
Thank you. All right, over to Aldrich now. Thanks, Aldrich.
Thanks, Hallie. Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. I'm Aldrich from the NVES Business Systems Design team. So Hallie has taken you through the process of corrections and the key timings for those corrections. But before you start this corrections process, specifically for NVES data, you need to be able to identify discrepancies between your data and the NVES data being used to calculate your IEV. So you can use the NVES portal to assist you with this data reconciliation. And on the next slide, you'll be able to see the NVES portal. So you can access the NVES portal via Rover, but if you don't have access to the portal right now, you can either speak to one of the Rover users in your organization, or you can contact your your NVES account manager, and they'll be more than happy to assist you with getting on the portal. The portal contains various NVES-specific functions, but in terms of data reconciliation, there are a few ways that the portal can help you. The first one is the vehicles page, which contains the NVES data for each vehicle you have entered onto the RAV. The performance year tile you can see there which contains high-level data about your vehicle fleet currently on the RAV, and also the NVES reconciliation report, which is already in Rover and is still available for you to access. So let's get on to the tile on the dashboard in the next slide. So there are 3 numbers on this tile, the most important one being the bottom number, the running emissions value, or REV for short. Going from the top, we have target average CO2. This is the average emissions target of all the covered vehicles you've entered onto the RAV to date for the year. As Hallie mentioned, emissions target is calculated using equations in the legislation, taking into account your RAV data, which is MIRO, headline limit vehicle type of their individual vehicle. Similarly, fleet average CO2 is the average emissions value of all covered vehicles entered onto the RAV to date for the year. A vehicle's emissions value is how a car's CO2 emissions compares to the emissions target. And most importantly, the bottom number is your running emissions value, or REV, which shows you how you're tracking for the performance year. It's essentially your running tally for the year. So for example, if you log on to the NVES portal right now, your running emissions value will be the sum of all the vehicle emissions values of the NVES covered vehicles you have entered onto the RAV between 1 July and yesterday, the 26th of November 2025. These numbers are updated daily, typically overnight. So that means if you do put a correction through, as per the process Hallie pointed out before, it may take up to 24 hours for those numbers to be updated and reflected in the NVES portal. So let's say you find a discrepancy with the running emissions value you see in the portal. To get into more detail, you can go into the vehicles page in the portal on the next slide. This page has a sortable table of all the NVES covered vehicles you have entered onto the RAV. It includes VIN, RAV entry date, approval number, vehicle type, make, model, CO2, and MIRO. These are all from the RAV. If you've used the NVES reconciliation report in Rover before, this information would be familiar to you. Sorry, I think I'm getting some background noise.
Yeah, look, if there's somebody out there who's got their microphone on, if they could please turn to mute, or if team, if we're able to mute anyone else's microphone. We're definitely getting some feedback from someone.
Yep, found them. Cool. So yeah, if you've used the NVES reconciliation report in Rover, you'll be familiar with this information. The extra information on this page is the emissions target and the vehicle emissions value for each individual vehicle. You can see on the bottom right there. These numbers will be used to calculate your running emissions value on the dashboard. So you can filter this table and export the NVES data to reconcile with your own data. Before I pass it back to Hallie and the team, in case you've missed it, on the next slide, if you log on to the portal today, you'll be able to see an icon called the Admin Center. Here you'll be able to edit your organization's contact details, namely your executive contact and secondary contact. But if you haven't applied for a unit registry account yet, this is all you will see on that page. If your organization already has a registry account and you are an admin of that account, you will be able to see something extra. You'll be able to see the Create New Permission section, where you can assign unit registry permissions to NVES portal users in your organization to get you ready for unit trading next year. The NVES portal user guide on the NVES Regulator website has more information on what these permissions mean and how to access and use these features. Thank you. That's it from me. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thanks, Aldrich. We're going to swing back to Hallie with that question that was coming through on our Q&A, which, Hallie, if I just read that out, if you're okay to take this one. So the question is this: at the end of each month, upon receipt of the RAV invoice, we perform reconciliation. And just about every month, our data never actually matches the invoiced amount. Why is it the case, and how does that impact the NVES IEV calculation?
Okay, so I think the first thing is, if I'm understanding the question correctly, we're talking about invoicing versus RAV entries versus IEVs. And if that's the case, the invoicing question isn't a question for us. That's a question for RAV questions. So I think it's Murray who asked that question. Hi, Murray. It's nice to see you again.
Hi,
I would
Hallie.
suggest. Hi, it's good to hear your voice, man. I hope you're doing well. But first of all, I would suggest that you talk to RAV questions about invoicing. We unfortunately don't have access to that, and we can't help with that question. In terms of whether there's discrepancies between what you've been invoiced for and what the RAV is, that's we're unable to assist. But we can confirm that once an entry or once a vehicle is accepted on the RAV, it is counted towards the IEV. Does that answer your question, or do you have? Can you clarify for me? Can I answer another one for you, Mary? Because unmute and just ask.
It was pretty much just trying to get an idea as to why there's always a discrepancy
Okay.
between obviously what's on a RAV is what's calculated for NVES.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And ultimately it ends up on the IEV and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that that's actually accurate as possible.
Right.
But like I said, it never seems to match. So
is it an invoicing question, or is it a RAV entry question?
Good question, because ultimately they all lead to the one avenue, don't they?
Fair enough. You know what, Murray? How about I talk to you after this webinar? We will find the issue. So let's tic-tac. I'll help you one-on-one. How does that sound?
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Murray.
Thanks, Murray, and thanks for kicking us off with the first question. You've opened to a couple others, which we really appreciate. So I'm going to go to one of the questions online, and then someone had their hand up just then. We'll pop back to that. So the next question was, is it only employees of a regulated entity that can get full login to see reporting details? We're an independent distributor located in Queensland with a different distributor, I think a subsidiary of the manufacturer, supplying vehicles to the rest of Australia. I'd like to be able to reconcile our data supplied. Hallie, I'm not sure if you'd like to take this, or I'd like to pass to Aldrich. I think maybe you can have first crack because you're the one who helps people with their access.
Sure. So it's not just sorry, let me start back here. Not just regulated entities can access the portal, although it is up to a regulated entity who gets to access the portal. So I know of quite a few regulated entities who will give or have given portal access and portal permissions to other people who do not work for their entity. But it is up to them to decide who that is. What I would suggest you do is talk to your Rover admin, or if you know you have an NVES portal admin, talk to them and see if you can arrange for access to be granted to you.
Thanks, Hallie. I appreciate that answer. So the next one I might throw to Aldrich because it is around how the system is operating. And the question is this: when downloading data for reconciliation, it only downloads the maximum of 5,000 VINs each time, which is not convenient. Could this be fixed to download all the VINs into one file in the future?
Thanks, Karen. Yes. So there is a 5,000 VIN maximum limit for exporting data from the portal, which I know is not convenient, but yeah, that's the performance limit we have on the portal right now. We will consider this as a enhancement in future development and releases for the portal. We'll let you know when that goes through, but can't guarantee that gets into future enhancements and releases, but it's definitely something we're considering.
Thank you so much, Aldrich. And I'll add to that, our Rover colleagues, because we're sort of, I think of us as almost the cousins with Rover. In fact, we're probably closer than cousins. We're probably siblings. But we know that Rover have worked really, really, or the RVS team have worked incredibly hard over the last multiple years to make sure the performance in Rover meets your needs and expectations. So part of our considerations when we've been building the NVES elements is to make sure that we're not doing anything that actually slows down, stops, or causes really inappropriate performance issues on the Rover side, because that affects everybody, obviously. So we're certainly aware, and as Aldrich has said, it's one of the things we will consider and think about. We just can't make any guarantees, because making sure that performance stays really high is our critical starting point. So that's all the questions I have right now for the Q&A. Did anyone else have their hand up? I did see a hand come up, but I think it's gone back down. I just wanted to check that I haven't missed anyone. Please, Lewis, to you, please.
Yeah, sorry, I was
Okay.
I was pressing here. My question is regarding the what's the name of the test again? The fit and proper person test for the user that would be requesting the account to be created.
Yes.
I think we had that session or a few sessions about 1 to 2 months ago.
Yep.
On some feedback and things that you are working to finalize the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So has that been finalized, or is that going to be published in terms of exactly how that's going to work, the fit and proper person test? So is this something that we should go ahead now, and if we go ahead requesting the account to be created, how that's going to work?
Sure. And look, I'm going to steal a little bit of the thunder from my staff, who are going to give you exactly this answer again shortly. Let me give you the 2-second summary, which is we are still working through rules, but the actual process is in place. But there is no requirement for you to act swiftly and to do the application right now. It is worth you actually being comfortable, making sure you understand all the questions and are comfortable to answer them. But I might pause on that answer and let the team go through their information. And at the end of their presentation, I'm going to call back to you and ask whether or not we've actually answered your question, or whether we need to circle back and then get some more. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we might continue on, and then I think we're still getting some more questions come through, so we'll keep the flow going. Thanks. I think this is Amalia.
That's back to me, actually.
Oh, back to Hallie. Wonderful.
Hi again, everyone. Yeah, you just can't get enough of me, I know. Okay, Vinny, thank you so much. All right, as you guys know, and I don't have to remind you, I know that we are all looking at January, February. It's right around the corner. So I want to give you a bit of an idea of what to expect over the next couple of months in terms of how we're going to go about issuing IEVs and units. And the last thing we want is for you to feel like you've been left in the dark. So throughout January, our team is going to be calculating every entity's IEV. We're going to be very thorough in doing this because we want to make sure we're doing it right and that there are no mistakes. As I mentioned before, we will be looking at RAV corrections for the data that was entered at the end of December. And as I said before too, please make sure that you submit these corrections as soon as you become aware of them. That helps to keep our IEV calculations simple, and it helps to avoid delays. I recognize that you may be submitting data in early January that might have errors, and that you might identify those errors before the end of January. If you do have to make a correction to January 2026 RAV data during this time, you should still submit the correction request. We'll try to action it ASAP, but we may not get to it quite as quickly as normal because we will be focused on IEVs. No matter what you're correcting in January, we would really appreciate it if you would talk to your account manager when you do submit that request. Let us know it's coming. Give us some background information. Talking to us about these things helps us to prioritize our workload, but it also helps us find ways to support you through this busy time. From February, we're going to be issuing IEVs and, when relevant, any units that have been earned. When we do that, a couple things are going to happen. First, you're going to receive a portal notification to let you know that your IEV has been issued. This message on the portal is going to be super generic. It's not going to tell you what your IEV is or whether you've been issued units. That information is going to be sent over email instead, and it will include formal documentation for your records. If your IEV is less than 0, units will automatically be created for you and deposited into your registry account, but this won't happen immediately. If you've earned units, they'll be created the night after your IEV has been issued to you, Canberra local time. So don't check your account as soon as you get the IEV notification, because there probably won't be anything there. Instead, give it 24 hours or until the following morning. If you still don't see any units by then please call us. But I would encourage you not to stress about it, because if we've told you that we've issued you X units, then we're going to issue you X units. That's what's going to happen. If we have to iron out some wrinkles, that's what we're going to do. But just reach out to us. We'll figure it out together. If you have an IEV that's less than 0 and you're being issued units, but you don't have a registry account, that's okay. And Lewis, this may go to some of your questions, maybe. You're not going to miss out. You still have 12 months to open a registry account and claim your 2025 units. No rush. You still have plenty of time. This is a legal declaration, so we would encourage you, talk to your legal team, get their advice. And if you have more questions about how to interpret a question or what we're asking of you, talk to us too. We're very happy to talk about it. You can contact us on the helpline, or you can email us and we will speak to you in total confidence. After every IEV has been issued, then we'll turn our minds to publishing. Now, are there any questions on IEVs, unit issuance, registry account openings, any further questions on FPP?
I might just add to your info as well, Hallie, which is just to repeat that the rule has not yet been made. So we talked about this in our face-to-face session with our regulated entities. That is still going through the formal processes of being made, although I understand quite a number of people were involved in consultation already to date on those. The rules are really about trying to provide clarity to what already exists in the Act. The Act already says that we need to ensure that we have fit and proper fairness, fit and proper people engaging in our system. It's really important to us and for you as regulated entities that we are maintaining and safeguarding the integrity of our registry, which will hold personal property of the actual regulated entities. It's not our property, those units, and so that's why we're undertaking the FPP test. But we are confident that the rule process is about supporting and I guess just making sure that there is the right kind of hooks in the legislation for the process that is underway. We have had some people already apply, and we have, and that's fine. And we've had others who are waiting to see the rules, and we've got others who we know are working through the process now with their say legal teams or others to understand how to best answer the questions that are set out by the FPP test. So before I go to the other questions, can I just check, Lewis, does that answer your question for now?
Yeah, I think sort of. So we cannot, from what I understand, we could apply now for the account, but you will only be created in March, right?
Oh, look, we may create them before that, but it's, you know, there won't be anything to do with an account if we created it today.
Yeah.
There's no units to put into it, obviously, until we've issued IEVs. So it's a kind of a practical matter for you about what's the right timing for you and your business.
Yeah. Okay. And so the decision is then, do we wait for the rules to be finalized before opening the account or not?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're more comfortable with that, as Hallie has set out, there's no impediment or problem with that at all. And as Hallie did say in her presentation, you have up to 12 months post us issuing that IEV to claim those units. So that there really is no rush. The real question is, when do you want to start being able to actually take action with those units? That's a business call for you, of course. Yeah.
And do we have an idea when the rules will be finalized?
Yeah, look,
at this
I
point?
really, I know the team, the policy team are doing their best to finalise them as quickly as possible. It is a legislative process, and of course, they have both, internal sort of APS hoops to jump through, and they have to make sure that they are advising the minister. I don't have a date for that. I'm sorry at the moment. All I can tell you is that they are trying their very hardest to get them through as fast as they possibly can.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I might jump to a question online, which I think is one that people are starting to, I've had in a couple of different engagements, and has caused a bit of confusion for people who maybe hopefully less the regulated entities, but more for others trying to understand how the NVES works. And it is this: with two different entities reporting for the same type of vehicle, is the reporting split or in one group? Now, I'm not sure of my team who is best to throw this to for an answer, or whether you guys think that I should jump in with this one. Always dangerous to let the boss answer things, though. Would any of the team like to pop their hand up or pop themselves off mute and have a go at that answer?
I can have
Hallie.
Yeah,
it's the Hallie show today. We love it. To you, please.
Yeah, well, I'm glad someone does, Karen. Okay. So I'm just reading the question over again. Two different entities reported to the same type. When we say the same type of vehicles, can I get a little bit of clarification on that? Are we talking about vehicles that are sold by two entities and reported by one?
And Greg, please feel free to pop your hand up or put in some
please,
additional context. But
take yourself
until
off mute.
then, maybe can I Hallie, give you my interpretation? Oh no, look, Greg's popped his hand up. Great, to you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
And you're just still on mute, Greg. Are you able to take yourself off mute, or shall we do that for you? Let's see if I can take you off mute. Do I have the power? No, I do not. Team, can someone please try and get Greg off mute? For some reason, Greg, I really apologise. We don't appear to be able to get you off mute here. Let me see if I can try and clarify what I think you're saying, and then if I've got it wrong, we can either take it offline, or you can perhaps type a response. I'm very sorry about that. I'm not sure why that coming off mute is not working. Hallie, I think my interpretation of the question would be where we have different either suppliers or distributors bringing in vehicles under one VTA. And the question being, is the reporting for that one VTA, that those vehicles which are under one VTA split, or is it in one group?
Got it. Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. And we do have a couple of entities and manufacturers who are in that situation. The answer for that is basically whoever is your VTA holder in Rover, that's whoever owns all those VTAs, that's who is going to be responsible. So all of the vehicles that come in under the VTAs that are organized under that VTA holder, all of those are amalgamated. We can't split them up further, and we also can't roll them up further than that. So I think,
Greg, I hope that that's what you meant by your question. If I've misinterpreted your question or misunderstood, I'm really sorry. My team in the background have been trying to unmute you. We can unmute other people, but not you. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. But if you could pop through if we've got that answer wrong, or if I've got that question, I should say, if I've misinterpreted that question, happy to come back to it. And if we get to the end of this session and you haven't been able to clarify, please don't hold it to yourself. Please pop an email through.
Sorry.
Oh, please. Is that Murray? Yeah, great.
It's Murray.
Please,
yes,
Murray.
sorry.
No, don't apologise.
Greg is one of our entity guys that's situated in Queensland, and he's asking this in an essence, I guess, to the email that you might have received from Paul earlier this week or late. So basically, we've been asking for a way to identify the submitter ID within the reports in the RAV and also in the NVES, and that hasn't come to fruition as yet. Maybe hopefully in the future it does, so that we're able to identify who the actual submitter IDs are, so that way we can do a split and know exactly what's happening. So is that a possibility at some time in the future?
Look, I can't say for sure right at this moment, but yes, understand the question, and yes, I know the team has received that email, and we're working to get some advice through about what's possible or what's not possible. I think that the short answer is that I definitely could say we're not going to have a change that's going to happen before we're giving IEVs. We've got a number of elements of our system that are being released for our own internal use to make sure we can give you all the right experiences towards the end of the year. And unfortunately, we just don't have additional time and space to make changes that we haven't already got well advanced. But let the team has got that question, and we will come back to you with a response. But you know, the sort of the way the NVES Act is established and is written in the legislation, our regulated entity is the entity who holds the VTA and is the sort of first level of who comes into the NVES Act. So, and obviously we know that there are a whole range of different business, both supplier, distributor, and other arrangements that are happening across Australia's market. We have one of the most exciting markets in the world. Literally, you know, we have the largest number of vehicles available for sale in a very small market. So that makes all the different permutations of business not insignificant, and we're certainly happy to keep hearing about what isn't working and try and find ways to assist as far as is possible.
Thank you,
sorry
Karen.
not to be able to give you the exact answer right now, both Greg and Murray.
Thank you.
Thanks. Murray and Greg, I've been talking to you guys and Paul quite a bit about this issue going back a couple months now. Murray, when I reach out to you later, I'll make sure that we can, if there's any other questions that I can answer for you, then we'll do so at that time. How does that sound?
Thank you, Hallie.
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful. Excellent. All right. Look, I don't see any other questions in the Q&A at this point, so we might keep on moving on. Hallie, I think, dare I say it now, that perhaps you're going to hand over to Amalia for our next information?
Yes. Sorry,
Fantastic.
Amalia.
Hello, everyone.
Keep those questions coming through, though, guys. This is these kinds of Q&As really helpful for others to hear as well. So if you have the question, there's a really good chance somebody else out there is thinking about it. Sorry. Thanks, Amalia.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amalia. It's good to see you all again. I'm also one of the account managers with Hallie. So to pick up where we left off, we will be publishing NVES data after IEVs are issued to all regulated entities. Why are we doing this? Pretty simple. The law says so. So in particular, Section 86 of the NVES Act says what must be published in relation to the NVES. What must be published is the IEV, the name of registry accounts, and the number of units in each registry account. Where will this information be published? We will publish access to this information on the NVES Regulator website. We want to assure you 2026 will work the same way as 2025 in the way that you engage with us. It's the same corrections process. It's the same way to communicate with your account managers. Day to day, it won't look different for you. However, there are now two important differences in 2026. Number one is the headline limit will change. And number two is post-IEV, you can now trade units. To help you know who to contact and whether regulated entities are interested in trading, we have created the Unit Trading Contact List. This is an opt-in list containing the contact details and whether a regulated entity is interested in trading. We will send an email out in the next little bit of time asking, A, if you want to opt in to the Unit Trading Contact List, and B, if so, your contact details and whether you're looking to buy or sell units. This information can then be accessed by you as a regulated entity. To clarify, the Unit Trading Contact List is opt-in, and if you want to use this to help with trading, this list can be gained through your account managers and will contain the contacts and intentions of each regulated entity that opts into this list. This will be updated by account managers as we are notified by you of changes in details to contacts or your trading position. So before we send the email out to you asking if you would like to opt in, have a think about who your contact person might be, what permissions they might have in the NVES portal, and what role they have in your company. Thank you so much, and I might pass on to Karen.
Thanks, Amalia. Did anyone have any questions about how to know who to trade with when we get to the exciting part? Just so that's at the end of the formal presentation pieces. So we do have one more Q&A. I think that's just about to come through. Yes, it's just popped up, and so let me go to that Q&A while you're thinking about whether those last bits of information has prompted any other questions for you. So the question is this: considering some of the initial NVES modelling and case studies were focused on New Zealand's clean car standards, will the department and the NVES regulator take into consideration the fact that New Zealand has just scrapped their standard when Australia commences the NVES review period? Look, thanks very much for that question. The Minister will ask the department, and when I say the department, it will actually be directed towards my policy colleagues, not the regulator, to undertake a review of the NVES in 2026. And the reason for that is it's generally accepted it's not a good idea for the regulator to mark their own homework. So in that process, the Minister will actually issue directions to the department about what to consider or include in the review, including things like the international experience and what's actually happened. I can't say for sure whether or not it will make it into that final direction from the Minister, but you know, that's a matter for the Minister as they come up. I would be surprised if there's not some direction to consider what's occurred across the world. That's a normal part of policy review, and I know that our policy colleagues spent quite a bit of time before I was any part of this, before the regulator stood up, in making sure we understood how these things worked across the world. We do have another question that's come through in the chat. So the question is, if we do not want to buy or sell our units, can we get the list issued to us? So I guess I've got a question back, which is, if you're not wanting to buy or sell your units, why are you interested in having a list of people who are interested in buying or selling units? I don't know if you've got any insights for us there, Paul, or anything you'd like to add to that? Nicola, if you could jump in, please, and please just make sure you introduce yourself for anyone who hasn't met you yet.
Hi, everybody. I am a director of the NVES Reg Ops team, the account managers that you look after. I'm lucky enough to work closely with. So, yeah, we're the ones who are going to be managing that list. Look, to be honest, at the moment, we didn't envisage giving it to anyone who doesn't have a bona fide interest in buying or selling units, mostly because it's going to contain contact information for individuals at companies. So I suggest maybe just reaching out to your account manager and having a chat with them.
Thanks, Nicola. I appreciate that. And thanks for the question, Paul. I think one of the things that I would observe, we know that many companies are really just not currently sure about what their plan will be. They're waiting to see whether they have units or what scale of units they have. They'll then have a lot of thinking about what to do with those units in what year and when they might be expecting more units, etc. So I guess we're completely expecting that you might have some conversations with your account manager that says, we're just trying to figure this out, and what happens when and how. And our account managers are really happy to engage in those conversations to help you understand what the processes are, what the system allows for, how we can actually facilitate your business decisions. But just remember that as the regulator as well, we won't guide or advise you on your business decisions. We will leave that completely in your hands, as is, I'm sure, completely appropriate, and you would also expect us to do. And thanks, Paul. I see you've come back saying it's all good. You'd misunderstood what the listing was about. So that's all good. Thank you. So we're now, as I said, we're at the end of our formal presentation. We've got about 8 minutes to go of time together. So it's kind of the last chance you have while we're all together like this to pop something into the question and answer section. Pop your hand up if you'd rather do that.
Yeah,
last call
chance before the
around.
end of the year.
Oh, yay. We've got Venu, I think it is. Please, thank you for popping your hand up.
Yep. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm not able to enter the question on the portal. Something's
Sure.
restricting me. But I have a question regarding publishing of the results. So is there a format that's already been agreed? The reason why I ask is whether the department thinks to publish type 1 vehicle results separately, type 2 vehicle results separately, and then provide an aggregated result, or is that being a consideration, or what will be the format in which the results will be published?
Thanks for that question. I might throw to Amalia in a second, but I'll start with the headline, which is to say, as Amalia had actually set out in her presentation, we're required to publish the IEV along with some information about who holds registry accounts and how many units are held in them. The IEV is actually not disaggregated. So we don't actually count an IEV by different types. We actually only look at it as one number. And the reason for that is the NVES is designed by design is at fleet level. It's all about you managing and balancing across your fleet. We fully expect that many of our entities will have vehicles that don't meet their targets, and they may have other vehicles that do meet their targets, and they might come out nicely zero as a result. That would be fabulous. That means that we still have a lot of choices for Australians, and we still have, the outcome of having increasing emissions reductions over time. Amalia, I've probably taken all of your answer there, but to you, if there's anything you'd like to add to that.
No, I think that summed it up really well. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. I will say you may be aware as well that one of the key things that was consulted on in the rules was about, is there other information the regulator should publish? That is an area that the policy team are still finalising for the rules about whether or not, in addition to, and maybe we can go back to the slide that shows the little excerpt from the Act that says what we must publish. So that's in the legislation in the Act. These are the things that we have no choice, we will publish. But the rule may say that we have to publish some other information. We're waiting to see the final form of that as well, but it has been consulted on and will be known to people before we publish it. The real key for me, having been part of many regulatory processes over 20 years in government now, is simplicity is key. We want the information to be accessible. We want people to be able to understand what it says. And so over time, we might actually work on how do we better contextualise or how do we better explain. But in the first instances, we're all learning with you, and we're likely to go with some pretty the simplest possible options to begin with. Venu.
Yep, fully support your idea. Just in the example sections where you show on the on the website, it would have been clear if it were to mix both type 1, type 2 vehicles in the examples and show the calculation procedure. So that's just a feedback. So that's why I just thought to clarify in this board. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. We really appreciate that feedback. That's really useful, and we'll have a bit of a think about whether we can improve that information there as well. Thank you. I see I've got another question that's come up in the chat. How do the credits for EV worked out? And I think how the credits for EVs worked out, and what's the ratio for it to be set off against an NVES penalty? Well, that's it's slightly complicated, although very simple question in some ways, it could also be slightly complicated. Tim, did you want me to have first go, or did you want to jump in first? Because I think for me it kind of comes back to the point that the whole way that an IEV is calculated is by an aggregated process. So it's not about EVs being any different from it. Every single vehicle is actually put through the calculation in exactly the same way. The number that comes out is then rolled up together with every other vehicle under that VTA holder type, and you come up with a sum at the end of it that says, did you beat your target or did you not beat your target? Hallie, did you have any better explanation than I've just given?
I don't have a better one, but I can give you a little bit more information on top of that. Apart from the aggregation amalgamation that Karen was just going over, the way that we calculate penalties versus credits for every vehicle, whether they're EV or not, is based mostly on weight and CO2 and type, so type 1 or type 2. Now, every vehicle has its own emissions value. We calculate every vehicle separately against their own weight-based target. So it depends upon whether you're talking about a passenger car that's pretty light or a passenger car that's pretty heavy. And your CO2 for an EV will be zero no matter what, but your mass will be different. And that will or could change the actual emissions value of the vehicle. Now, because it's so different, we actually do have a web page up on our website. I think it's called Calculating IEVs and Issuing Units. And see, Simone has just posted that in the chat. So if you guys have more questions about how we calculate, that's a really good first step because I think it also gives you some examples.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hallie. We are, look, at 2 minutes away from the end. We do need to wrap up. Thank you so much for all of those questions. I found this to be a really rich conversation. So for me, every time that we have one of these sessions, we're coming to the next layer of information and detail about how the NVES works. And I really appreciate that, as I said, each time someone asks a question, that we hear feedback from others in the system later that say, oh yeah, that was really interesting, can you turn that into something? So that's one of the reasons we publish these webinar videos. So if you're here and you think there's somebody that you're talking to or that you're aware of, either in your organisation or within the broader industry that would benefit from this, please pass them, point them to the webinar videos. They can play back and hear all the questions and answers along the way. So let me just sort of wrap up very quickly with 1 minute to go. I'm going to keep us to time, I promise, team. So who can you talk to if you need some help or you need questions? If you're one of our regulated entities or their representatives, you already know who your account managers are. Your account managers really do genuinely look forward to talking to you guys and hearing from you. There is both the NVES Regulator email and that you can reach out to them, and I know many of you have spoken to them and you find that to be a really useful way to be able to thrash out issues. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your account managers. We do have our wonderful website, nvesregulator.gov.au. That is very useful, as some of those pages like the last one that was just referenced at the end there was talked about, is some walking through how does the NVES work, things like how do we calculate, how do we issue, how does the NVES regulator go about our job and think about our posture and approach. So please have a look at that website. And also, don't forget that we actually have some guides available too. So if you're one of our portal users, you might have either just got into the portal, you might not be in there yet, you might be waiting within your company to talk about getting access or thinking about them. We do have a guide to how do you use it, about the NVES, and about the NVES regulator is also another guide available on our website. It's a bit of a 101. I still refer to it to make sure that I've got the foundations right, and I really think it's a useful piece. It's actually something you can either print out, or actually it's got some interactive links and connections for you that you can follow through looking at it online. Great work by my team to bring that to fruition. So please, thank you again for your time. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I think, Simona, we've got the details for the survey. We're going to ask you this, or are we emailing? Here we go. I knew there'd be a QR code. If you've got a little minute now, 30 seconds now to give us some feedback about this webinar, we'd really appreciate that. But I'll say thank you again for all your attendance, for your questions, for your engagement, and happy end of the first NVES compliance period. We've really, we've kicked off really well. We've seen heaps of cars coming into Australia. We're seeing entities who are really engaging. You're all working hard with us, and we're working hard with you, and we appreciate it. Have a great afternoon, and thank you again.